Evet arkadaşlar, şimdi bu videoyu ikinci kanala yükleyebilir miyim bilmiyorum. O yüzden YouTube tayfa bilemiyorum, çünkü bir YouTuber'ın videosu telif yiyebilir eğer görüşemezsek YouTube'da. Aman. Hop aman. Sık elimi, sık. Hop. Aman. Hop. Bak gümen. Şaka şaka. Eğer buluştuysak hoş geldiniz.
Move on to Japan, because what happens if you put the world's best-selling handheld game machine in the world's
Gay machine mi? Ne?
biggest
Çok
burger
kötü.
chain?
McDonalds. Oğlum bu videoyu 2 haftadır izleyeceğiz bu arada.
The McDonald's M came with unique DS cartridges containing training software.
And Mike, how exactly are they teaching the McD's members with the was it the NSDS or something like that?
The DS.
Perhaps someone out there watching this video knows
Abi 50 dakika bu izlenmez be. Niye izlenmesin? Lan sen korku filmi izleyelim diyen çocuksun değil mi lan?
more than we do. But for now, the McDonald's training
Haklıyım
game
bence. Yani ben seni böyle gıdığından yakalayıp kitlemedim yani.
is a mystery.
Hani en son baktığımda masaya bağlı değildin burada. İzlenmez amına koyayım, bu ne? Oğlum bir kere de bir amına kodumun yerinde farklı bir şey izleyelim yani. Hatay Sandıkçı izlemekten kusacağız artık Twitch Türkiye'de. Kime gitsem Hatay Sandıkçı izliyor Twitch'te. Allah belamı versin. 8,5 aydır her gün Hatay Sandıkçı izlemeyen bir tane bile yayıncıya denk gelmedi. Takip ettiğim her yayıncımı izler. Ben de izliyorum. Bak izlemiyor değilim. Ben de Hatay Sandıkçı izliyorum. Kötü de demiyorum. Ama bir kere bir değişiklik yapalım Allah aşkına.
McDonald's employees a partnership to create an exclusive piece of software for the Nintendo DS. This unassuming little cartridge would then go on to become one of the rarest Nintendo DS games of all time. Today I'll be telling you the story of this legendary game and how in June of 2020 one of the last known copies disappeared into the hands of an anonymous collector forever. Now, this program was a big deal for McDonald's Japan. The company claimed that this cartridge would allow them to train new employees in half the time it would usually take. It was a huge investment for the company, too. This whole endeavor of manufacturing and distributing these carts was costing them roughly 200 million yen, or $2 million, and that's not even counting the cost of developing the software itself. And while the title of the game isn't particularly exciting, the official name is eCrew Development Program, the contents of this cartridge are fascinating.
McDonald's
From what little we know, the game was
CD'siymiş,
surprisingly
tamam.
robust,
Çok
with
daha
just
başka
a
bir şey
ton of
bekliyordum ben.
personality, lots of custom sprite work, and even some rudimentary 3D for the little boxes the hamburgers come in.
Tam bir Japon işi.
This game shows trainees how to assemble a quarter pounder with cheese. You can also learn how to cook fries and clean your workstation.
And I say what little we know because for the past decade, this game has been completely lost to time. For about 10 years now, this unassuming little blue cartridge has been the holy grail for many Nintendo collectors. While nobody knows precisely how many copies were manufactured, estimates range from a few hundred to a few thousand. One thing is for sure, this game, if you can even call it a game, is highly sought after.
Bir şey soracağım. Mesela bu oyun şu an koleksiyoncular inanılmaz derecede sözelcilerin oynadığı oyun. Bu oyun inanılmaz pahalıdır değil mi? Tabii yani koleksiyon parçası sonuçta.
Now, this tactic of taking something that appeals to the young people of Japan and deploying it as a recruitment tactic is something McDonald's Japan has done many times before. Among the most memorable examples would be this anime-style Join the McDonald's Crew campaign.
McDonald's'a katılın animesi varmış oğlum. Oğlum nasıl propaganda bu?
Popular idol group AKB.
Türkiye'de hiç böyle bir şey yapmıyor oğlum McDonald's. Demek ki adamların insan çekmeye ihtiyacı burada yok. Ben hiç Türkiye'de McDonald's reklama, böyle bir reklama denk gelmedim.
48. This game is so rare, in fact, that it even spawned conspiracy theories that it never existed in the first place.
Gerçek değil falan diye.
I've come across YouTube comments before claiming that this game is a total hoax and it's just people mixing up some Hilton PSP game for training employees and transposing a memory onto McDonald's. And of course, the existence of that Bloomberg news report I showed you at the beginning kind of contradicts the whole this game is a hoax theory. But strangely, that Bloomberg News report has remained the closest look we've ever gotten at gameplay for 10 years now.
And Bloomberg's Mike Fern went to McDonald's training center in the heart of Tokyo.
And that game is a little bit trickier than it looks actually if you don't get everything exact.
McDonald's Türkiye Katarlıların mı? Ne?
Right, it won't let you shake your fries. Japan, the only country where McDonald's uses the DS to train staff.
Somehow, in the time since that Bloomberg reporter paid a visit to McDonald's Japan HQ, we have never really gotten a close look at the game, and nobody has really gotten their hands on the cartridge, or at least everybody who has gotten their hands on the cartridge has kept it completely to themselves. Or at least that was the case until December 2018.
Oğlum ben geçen gün McDonald's söyledim, tamam mı? Allah kahretsin bak. Şeye yazdım. Adamlar tamam bir tane hamburger getirmiş. Bak 4 hamburger olması gerekiyordu. Menüden almıştık. 2-2. Bir tane hamburger yok. Canlı desteği yazıyoruz. Hamburger yok diyorum. Tamam mağazayla konuşacağım diyor. Mağaza demiş ki canlı destekteki kadına, hamburgeri yolladık demiş. Sonra bana dedi ki mağaza hamburgeri yolladığını söyledi. Ben dedim hamburger yok. Ben yalan mı söyleyeyim? Niye hamburger var diyeyim hamburger yoksa? Bana sonra kuryeye sormuşlar. Kurye de var demiş hamburger. Kesinlikle kurye yedi. Kesin kurye yedi oğlum. Çünkü dükkan var diyorsa, kurye de var diyorsa kuryenin yemesi lazım yani bunu. Başka bir açıklaması olamaz. Çünkü kurye yok derse orada patlar. Arada sıkışır. Ben yok diyorum, kurye de yok diyor. Nasıl acaba? Recep İvedik anı yaşandı orada.
When a user that was the case until December 2018. When a user on assemblergames.com named Code1038 made the following post announcing he'd gotten his hands on the game. Hello guys, I found this very rarest cartridge a year ago and I'm still at same point. I can't reach hidden menu to see 3D burger and play games. I've tried with famous Japanese speaker to enter in it, but unfortunately, I need a code. I've made this little video what I can do. Help needed.
Oyun çalışmıyormuş.
Now maybe you're confused, so I'll explain. Code1038 on this forum, also known as Cody Tontweet on YouTube, had actually gotten his hands on a copy of this coveted game. However, and here's the incredibly intriguing part, he had been stuck for years on the title screen because the title screen required a password. Cody had even included a video captured directly from his copy of the game showing the issue. And sure enough, this gameplay video, the only gameplay video we have of the McDonald's training game, is only 2 minutes long because he couldn't get past the title screen. And while it's only 2 minutes long, what's in those 2 minutes is unbelievably intriguing. First off, there's this amazing opening cutscene.
Şey kısmı var mı acaba oyunda böyle? 2,5 aydır kullanılan yağı boşalt. Oğlum oyun eğlenceli bu arada. McDonald's burgeri yapıyor.
Personal favorite part, the incredible main menu music, which, if you listen closely, you'll note is a reorchestrated chiptune interpretation of the classic McDonald's
propaganda
jingle.
Süper propaganda. Bence birisinin bu oyunu tekrar remake'lemesi lazım. Ama böyle creepypasta gibi remake'lesin. Hani Doki Doki Literature Club gibi. Bunu böyle yapıp ISO'sunu versinler. Yani Nintendo DS oyunu yapmak ya da Nintendo DS temalı bir oyun yapacaklar işte. Kimse yapmamış mı acaba? Remake ne la? Remake ne biliyor musun? Japon profesörü. Kotaku Remake. Bir oyunun benzerinin yapılmasına remake deniyor. Adam yapmış ilk önce.
But tragically, this was all Cody could see. Even though he owned the cartridge, he could only watch that title screen and get to that main menu over and over and had been stuck there according to him for a year. Now this, in and of itself, is extremely weird. The idea of a Nintendo game cartridge with a unique password to lock out unintended players is already very unusual. But the fact that this functionality was built into what is also arguably the single rarest Nintendo DS game ever manufactured made the whole thing even more intriguing.
Ben
Now, making things
küfrederdim.
even
Böyle bir şey
trickier
olmaz.
is the fact that Cody refused
Konami
to
kod mu
share the
yapıyorsun? Sağ sol
contents
sağ
of
sol
the
yukarı
cartridge.
yukarı yukarı.
In the comments of his video and all over the internet, people have begged him to dump the game. The comments on the video are now locked, but in this video by the YouTuber Blame It On Jorge,
Abi evet, adam niye
you can
ISO'sunu
see
paylaşmamış
somebody
ki?
asking Cody to please dump the ROM and him saying,
That's illegal demiş.
smiley face, that's illegal, smiley face. Even going back to his initial forum thread,
Paylaşmamış,
Cody said,
inanılmaz.
P.S. I can't share ROM.
Niye?
And when another user insisted that Cody dump the cartridge, he stood firm. Quote, law is law, and I've already stuff for dumping. Sharing is still illegal by law, and I'm very strict for this point. I've bad personal experience about illegal download. I'm working with people who are very strict about information sharing. In other words, Cody would not be dumping the cartridge and distributing it online, so picking the game apart inside the software and looking for the password was not going to be an option. Now, while researching all this, I reached out to a video game conservationist and translator named Samuel Messner to ask him about this phenomenon. Why do collectors keep these one-of-a-kind games hoarded for themselves?
Yeah, so this is
Bir şey diyeyim, adam haklı bu arada ya. Düşünsene, dünyadaki en nadir oyunmuş bu ve adam onu buluyor. Hiç yerde videosu yok. Sonra adamın ROM'unu paylaşmasını istiyorsun. Bütün değeri gider yani o ürünün. Ben olsam ben de paylaşmazdım bu arada. O herif onu bulana kadar çok uğraşmıştır çünkü. Haklı yani.
Set diyor ki abi videonun altında oyunu indirme linki var.
Ha! Gerçekten varmış bu arada. Video bitsin, bir McDonalds oyunu oynayabiliriz belki bir gün. Yayında olmaz ama çünkü it's illegal.
Do anything that decreases that value is altruism and you know, idealism.
Demek ki
right?
başka bir şekilde buluyorlar.
And,
Hikayenin devamında öyle bir şey var.
I'm very much an idealist, so that's what I would do. But some people, you know, are not very into the idea that things they have in their collection would suddenly be worth so much less.
Now, despite Cody's insistence on not sharing, the members of the now-defunct Assembler Games forum did their very best to help him out. They translated the menus for him, picked apart his extracted game saves that he uploaded, attempted to contact Japanese game collectors for help, and nothing. They came up completely empty-handed.
Hala giremiş öyle.
Eventually, the forum shut down, and the quest hit what looked like a permanent dead end.
Bilmiyorum, bence ISO değildir ya Carnes, başka bir formattır. Bir tık Petscope muhabbeti havası var.
For over a year, this was where the story ended. There was no real movement on Cody's hunt to get access to this game. But then, in June of 2020, just a few months ago, there was an enormous development. Over on Yahoo Auctions Japan, a seller by the name of Nanvata0122 was selling a copy, an actual copy, of the McDonald's training game. And that would have been exciting enough on its own, but the thing that made this auction really special is that from the photos, you could tell that whoever this mysterious person is who was selling the game actually had the password. In all the photos of the game, you could see it being played. There was actual gameplay on the screen. This person had the password that Cody needed, the password for this specific cartridge, which was completely unprecedented. Now, the thing is, Nanvata0122 clearly knew what this was worth, because they listed this auction at a whopping 345,000.
Oğlum bak, ekonomi kötü diyorsun. Adam 345.000 yene kaç dolar diyecek şimdi, bak izle. 345 dolar falan diyecek. Bak. Dolar 100x.
Yen. The equivalent of about
Anasının gerçekten 500 dolar.
3.
Abi o yen öyle değil, Japon yeni öyle işlemiyor.
5,000 US dollars. Still, the item description was clear. You weren't just paying for this very rare
Bence
game
adam az vermiş ha. Bence 10.000 dolar verse bile satılırdı. Çünkü manyak çok oğlum dünyada. Koleksiyoncu manyak çok
bence. The code required to boot the game up. For the very first time in 10 years, there was finally a path forward. A way for the world to finally see what secrets the Japanese McDonald's training game had, but there was an enormous 350,000 yen roadblock in the way. Cody reappeared now on a new forum called Obscure Gamers and posted, "I found a guy on Yahoo Auctions Japan who has full access to menu. I need someone to contact him and get access."
Adama şifresini versin bari.
Of course, that never happened. No one was able to reach out to Nanva0122, and
besides,
there's no way this person would be giving up this password. And then the auction just sat there for weeks, with seemingly no one willing to fork up the cash for this very, very, very rare game. That was until July 9th at 9 p.m. Japan time, when an anonymous person placed a sniper bid at the last second, won the game, and then vanished.
Oha herif.
That was 4 months ago now, and ever since that auction ended, nobody has stepped forward as the owner of this game.
In 2020, one was put up for sale on Yahoo Japan auctions with one of the training cartridges and sold for the equivalent of around $3,200.
Most people have just assumed that it went into the...
Ya ben var ya, bu olay yüzünden çok korkuyorum. Bende kutu atamama alışkanlığı var. Sizde de var mı bilmiyorum aranızda hiç bu olan. Mesela ekran kartı mı alındı? Asla kutusunu atamam. Yeni bir konsol mu alındı? Asla kutusunu alamam. Çünkü kafamın hep bir tarafında şey var. Şimdi ben bunun kutusunu atarsam bunun değeri çok düşecek. Ya ama şimdi düşünüyorum hani PlayStation 4'ü mesela PlayStation 4. Ben PlayStation 4'ü 50 sene tutacak mıyım kendimle? Büyük ihtimal tutmayacağım. Hani gün gelecek onu satacağım. Ama ya tutarsam? Bir gün ya lazım olursa? Ya mesela bendeki PlayStation 4 bilmem ne Juice'u bir şey kodu var ya. Oğlum çok kötü bir şey ya. Yaşayamıyorsun öyle. Ben onu eve çıkınca anladım. Hani aile evindeyken bir odaya sıkıştırabiliyordum da. Eve çıkıyorum 1+1 2+1. Evde yer kalmıyor. Bir tane oda mesela benim şu an full kutu. Geçen yarısını attık. Şu an kesinlikle atamam dediğim kutular duruyor yani. Taşınırken atılıyor bu arada. Bir taşınırken çünkü o heyecanla şey diyorsun. At ya monitörün şeyinin olsun falan.
There's someone who's as fascinated as you and I about Nintendo history who has no intention of ever sharing this precious gem with the outside world. Seemingly this person was perfectly content to just enjoy this game themselves and never let us see what the gameplay looked like. Just as quickly as it had appeared, the game had once again vanished.
Oğlum adam bu adamı da alıp hiçbir şey paylaşmamış lan.
Only opportunity to actually experience the gameplay of the McDonald's training game. And until now, this has been where this story ends, an unsatisfying and predictable outcome that honestly paints a pretty grim picture of the state of video game preservation. But I'm here to tell you that there's more to this story. A lot more.
Ama şimdi 3500 lira veriyormuş. 3500 dolar vererek aldığım bir şeyi paylaşmazsın ki yani. Bilmiyorum ki 3500 dolar versem ben şu an bunu bütün dünyaya açıyorum falan. Yok be.
I've been keeping a secret from you. See, the person who placed that bid, the person who won that $3,500 auction for the McDonald's DS game,
kim?
The person who now owns the only copy with the password included, that person is me.
Süper. Şimdi sabahtan akşam McDonald's oyunu oynama vakti.
Alright, let's back up. 4 months ago, I received a comment on one of my videos saying you have to make a video about the lost Japanese DS game made for McDonald's employees. And while I don't normally solicit video ideas from my YouTube comments, this idea immediately hooked me. I had no idea that this cartridge existed, and the more I looked into it, the more fascinated I became by this whole thing. It wasn't long before I found myself on a forum thread where one user said, I found an auction, but it's too darn expensive, it ends on Thursday. The thing is, when I came across this thread, it was already Thursday. Frantically, I clicked the auction link, and there I was staring down a copy of the game I had just spent an entire night researching, and there were just 30 minutes left. For that entire half hour, I was just pacing in front of my desk, trying to decide whether or not this purchase could be worth it. I kept talking myself into it, and then talking myself out of it over and over, and then finally I caved.
Oğlum adam şimdi ne yapacak biliyor musun? 3500 dolara aldı ya bu Nintendo DS şeyini. Sniper bid'le almış. O bir hafta durmuş orada. eBay'den çekmemiş insanlar onu. Sonra adam bu videoyu yapıyor. Bu video 7.8 milyon izleniyor. Şu an adam o DS oyunu tekrar koysa bence bir minimum 50.000 dolara satar tekrardan.
2 minutes.
Süper. Elon Musk'ın Bitcoin diye tweet atması gibi bir şey.
Left on the auction. I clicked the place bid button.
Postiye bakayım. Kavus.
And saw this.
Müzik süper oğlum.
Using had a 300,000 yen limit on my account, and the auction was seconds away from ending.
2 dakika kalmış adam alamıyor.
And as I watched it slip away, I was pretty bummed out. but also kind of relieved that this temporary insanity that had taken over me hadn't driven me to spend a preposterous amount of money on a piece of McDonald's employee training software from Japan. With the auction over, I refreshed the page, curious to see if some other last-minute bidder had swooped in and stolen it. And lo and behold, that's when I realized that the auction had been set to automatically relist.
Oh shit.
This meant that I now had 6 whole days to formulate a plan to get my hands on this thing. Now, maybe you've noticed that when it comes to placing the actual bids, I'm not doing it through Yahoo Auctions Japan directly. I'm doing it through another website called Bai. That's because most sellers on Yahoo Auctions Japan do not offer international shipping. And that's where Bai steps in. In essence, they allow international customers like you and me to shop directly for items on Yahoo Auctions Japan, Mercari, Rakuten, and a ton of other Japanese online retailers. The way Bai works is that these items you buy are then...
Bir şey değil mi? Türkiye'de kesin çalışmaz bu.
shipped to Bai's warehouse, packed together in one package, and then shipped to you all as one big thing to save you time, hassle, and a lot of money.
Türkiye'de çalışıyor mu? Çalışıyormuş lan Türkiye'de. Biri onay verdi. Çalışıyor mu? Bir dakika lan. Dur bir dakika, çok merak ettim. Bai. Gerçekten çalışıyor mu lan? Bai.japan. Item direct from Japan. Register olmak lazım ona bakmak için. Oradan bir gidelim de bir Jojo yastığı çekelim.
Super Monkey Ball and Mario
ne bileyim,
items.
Çalışmaz. Yani böyle hani çok büyük siteler dışında yurt dışından alışveriş Türkiye'de çok zor oluyor gibi hissediyorum ben. Nedense.
But this was different.
Shipping olmuyor falan.
This time I was going to be asking them a way bigger question. I wanted to know if there was any chance Bai would be willing to help me out and assist me in securing this historic video game. Amazingly, they said yes.
Zor mu zaten? Evet, değil mi?
Now, I can't tell you how happy I was when Bai said yes to this proposition. And with their help, I placed the bid, waited, and then won the auction. However, there was still one enormous hurdle left to clear. See, it's still 2020, and over the summer, as a temporary precaution due to current world events, Japan actually halted shipping in or out of the country. See, Japan's primary mail provider is Japan Post, and Japan Post had an enormous list of countries who they were forbidding all mail to be sent or received from. And included on that list was my home country, the United States of America.
Oraya. Kaçırdım lan onu, duyamadım. Bunun üstünü örtüyordum. Üşümesin.
This posed an enormous problem. I needed to devise a way to somehow get this game out of Japan at a time when mailing things in and out of Japan was strictly forbidden. Out of options and desperate for some sort of resolution, I knew what I had to do. And it's not what you think.
Japonya'ya gidip alıp geleceğim.
See, normally in a situation like this, my solution, as you probably could have guessed if you've seen my other videos, would be to go to Japan and secure the package myself.
Size bir şey söyleyeyim bu arada. Benim Microsoft Binbox tişörtüm var ya. Bak aklıma geldi. O bu adamın videosundan esinlenip var. Doğru hatırlıyorsam. O bu herifin videosu olması lazımdı. Bu adam Microsoft Binbox'un olduğu yere gidiyor chat. Microsoft Binbox'un olduğu yere gidip şey yapıyordu. O videoda evet böyle yani güzel kanal onun demek. Fanta tişörtüm de var, evet.
But not only had Japan halted all mail in or out of the country, they've also halted all tourism in and out of the country. So there was no way I'd be getting in. So I'm sure you can understand my predicament here. I effectively had to figure out a way to book a flight to Tokyo in search of answers at a time when booking a flight to Tokyo in search of answers is literally against the law. Luckily, I had an ace up my sleeve.
Bu kim lan?
See, around this time last year, my younger brother Mark actually moved to Tokyo to go to university.
Ya bir şey diyeceğim, bu böyle adam çok fazla tesadüf ya. Film senaryosu gibi böyle kardeşim. Tokyo'ya gidemezdim çünkü korona vardı. Ama şanslıyım ki benim kardeşim zaten Tokyo'daydı. Vay be. Nasıl bir bağlam?
All foreign residents of Japan, including people with student visas, have been forbidden from leaving and re-entering the country during the pandemic, my brother had just been granted special permission to head back to the United States for a few weeks for a mandatory medical checkup. And by the way, just to reassure you, he got his checkup and everything's fine. So here's my idea. If I could somehow get this game into Mark's hands before his flight back to America, he could theoretically smuggle the McDonald's DS out of Japan in his luggage and the package would be secure. Now, for whatever reason, I felt a real sense of urgency with this mission. Blame it on Jorge's video that mentioned this McDonald's.
Yani kurgusa da gerçekten bunu yaptıysa süper.
Game had shined an enormous spotlight on it, and I couldn't shake the feeling that someone else might beat me to the
punch. Kurgu değil bu arada. Bu adam gerçekten
Now, a couple weeks after winning the auction, the item finally arrived at Bai's warehouse, but I was really running out of time. By this point, it was July 28th, and my brother's flight to America was just 3 days away. An incredibly narrow window to get this thing delivered. So if this item didn't arrive quickly, this plan was doomed. For 2 very stressful days, this possibility hung over my head that after all this work,
adam oyunu beklerken bunları izliyor değil mi böyle? Hani oyun fragmanlarını izlersin ya. Bu herif de bu Japonya'daki McDonalds çalışanlarını izliyor böyle. Oyun gelecek. Oynayacağım sonunda. Kardeşim getirecek. Amerika'ya bir haftalık izni var.
Stressful days, this possibility hung over my head.
Evet.
That after all this work, after all the money we'd spent, and after everything else had lined up so perfectly, a simple scheduling issue could unravel this entire plan.
Süper.
Then, on July 30th, I got this Discord message from my brother.
Gelemiyorum falan. Oha, şey yapmış lan.
The package
kargolatmış
had been secured.
Kardeşi almış. So while I was packed... Süper stres değil mi yani? Müthiş bir stres bu arada. Hani ben de bu stresi yaşamak isterdim yani. Böyle Japonya'dan çok rare McDonald's DS oyunu alayım, stresleneyim. Lan yanlış ya.
Get my stuff to get ready to return to America here in a few days. I am pretty sure that I heard a certain package arrive at my doorstep, so we're gonna go check that out.
Yüzün Japonya'daki kardeşi chat.
Oh. Not only is the inside of this cardboard box an incredibly rare,
büyük lan, fazla büyük,
one of a kind make and model of DS, it also could potentially hold trade secrets of the McDonald's Corporation. So I'm going to be very careful opening this.
Big Mac'in sosunun sırrı var mıdır oyunda acaba?
This could be bugged. I could have the McDonald's corporate team busting down my door with riot shields any second now. Oh my goodness.
With barely a day left before his flight, Mark safely packed the McDonald's DS into his enormous blue suitcase, and soon he was on his way to Tokyo's Haneda airport.
Varsa... Şimdi bir de bavul kayboluyormuş. Olmaz artık, o kadar da değil artık. Bavul kaybolmuştu. Singapur'a doğru yola çıkmıştı. Bavulu almak için.
And to be honest with you, the particulars of whether or not Mark would
Bizim
even be able to leave were
güzel.
kind of a big question mark. Jumping through the hoops to get all the paperwork filled out so that Mark could return home was an enormous hassle, and there was no real guarantee he would even be able to leave, much less get back into the country.
Evet,
Mark entered the airport, and with virtually all flights in and out of Japan canceled due to the pandemic, Haneda's international terminal was a ghost town. Everywhere he looked, seats were blocked off, forbidding people from sitting next to each other, a measure that ultimately proved redundant.
Bu şey dönemi ya, koronanın zombi istilası gibi şey olduğu dönem. Tam yani bak.
Almost every city airport was unoccupied.
Sonları falan. Tam o yani.
Soon it was time for Mark's flight, and a few minutes later, Mark found himself on board a virtually empty airplane from Tokyo to the United States.
Bir dönem, aynen.
Meanwhile, halfway across the world, me and my family were on our way to the airport to go meet Mark and see him for the first time since the pandemic.
Tesla değilmiş.
I was extremely excited. Excited, of course, to see my brother for the first time since 2019, something that seemed almost impossible to pull off in the midst of COVID, but also excited that the world would finally get a close look at this legendary and mysterious game for the first time ever.
Adam kardeşine gördüğüne sevinmiyor büyük ihtimalle bu arada.
We arrived at the airport, masked up, and after patiently waiting for what felt like forever, watching handfuls of masked passengers slowly trickle out of the gates, finally, we saw him.
Oyunu getirdin mi? İlk soru.
He had arrived. It's hard to overstate how great a feeling it was to see Mark again. The whole situation with travel in Japan had really led me to believe that he may not get to see us this summer at all, and that we may not see him until next year. But in all the excitement of seeing Mark, something slipped through the cracks. Something I didn't realize right away. If I'd been looking closely, I would have noticed that the enormous blue suitcase that Mark had packed the McDonald's DS in, he didn't have it.
Do you know that your bag is not didn't come? So the bag is delayed. I mistaken.
Ne yaptın lan sen? Ne yaptın lan sen?
Mark explained to me that due to a baggage snafu with the airline, his luggage had not wound up on his flight home with him.
Ben var ya kafa atardım. Oğlum çocuk yapmamış. Havalimanı sıkıntı yaşamış.
I said that this situation was not terrifying.
Gecikir
I
büyük
mean,
ihtimal. Gelir
here
yani.
we had this incredibly rare
Ya da
game, an
kaybolur
item
valizi.
that virtually never showed up
Çocuğun
on
suçu
auction
değil oğlum,
sites. A
çocuk
game
götürmüş.
that, as far as I know, doesn't exist anywhere else in the United States.
Ama niye sırt çantana koymuyorsun? Niye sırt çantana koymuyorsun ha? Çocuğun suçu.
That seemingly nobody had the password to access except for me, and we'd have to rely on an airline who'd already misplaced it once to ever get it back. This was a truly helpless feeling.
Gene bunları izliyor böyle, eve gelmiş. Kardeşi de gelmiş. DS yok.
There was really nothing we could do here except just exercise some patience and wait. Well, almost nothing. The one thing I could do...
Bir şey söyleyeceğim ama. Ben kurgu olduğuna inanmıyorum. Kurgu değil yani. Kurgu olmanın banko eminim. Çünkü adamın diğer videoları da maksimum eforlu zaten. Ama gerçek hayatında da bunu yaşamıyor musun ya? Bir şey çok istediğinde, böyle çok heves yaptığında hep bir aksaklık çıkıyor. Yani her zaman olmuyor bu tabii ama çok aksaklığı yaşadığında fark ediyorsun. Hani 10 tane şeyi çok istersin. Bir tanesinde olur. Uf ya, her şeyde aksak çıkıyor dersin. Bu da tam o olay mesela. Adam çok hype'lanıyor. Hep bir sıkıntı çıkıyor. Havalimanı bavulu karıştırıyor. Koronadan yollayamıyorlar falan.
Was start preparing.
Yani çok olası bir şey.
Even if everything went perfectly and the airline found this bag and returned it to us, that was
çok
only half the
cidden
battle.
olmuyor. Salman lazım ya.
I didn't just want to own this McDonald's training cartridge. I wanted to document it. I wanted to finally give the world its first up-close look at what the McGameplay actually consisted of. See, if I was going to do this, if I was going to put in all this time, effort, energy, and money, I wanted to do it the right way. I wanted to capture the game as it was actually played by McDonald's employees back in 2010, running on actual Nintendo hardware. So I started looking into solutions, and pretty quickly I realized what I wanted was a 3DS modified for video capture. But here's the thing. In 2020, getting your hands on a 3DS capture device is much easier said than done. For example, check out this MLIG video from last April.
I wish we could say we were able to show you great ideas that you can go and try for yourself right now, but the reality is that at this moment, the 3DS is in kind of a bad place.
And what they say in that video is completely true. The availability of hardware-modified 3DSs in 2020 has dried up almost entirely. And from doing a ton of research, I realized that there was really only one person left on Earth who could help me with this problem. And that was a console modder based out of Germany named Stefan Merki.
Bieten wir seit mehr als 2 Jahren die Installation der 3DS Capture Card.
For years now, Stefan has run a shop called Merki.net where he sells capture cards and hardware mods for the Nintendo 3DS. This site came up over and over
Nintendo DS'in pezevengi. Tabii abi.
in my research. By all accounts, Stefan was one of the best and most reliable hardware modders out there, able to install a full suite of capture devices and other useful hardware modifications, and he seemed like a perfect fit for this project. So, excitedly, I went to Stefan's website, and he had stopped selling them.
Adam satmayı bırak. $8,000 satıyormuş lan. What the fuck?
Email with Merki, a European distributor for both Katsu Kitty and Loopy kits. And he tells us that he's also
Çok
getting out of the
ilginç
game
hobileri olan
once his
insanlar var
existing stock
dünyada
is
ya.
depleted.
Çok
He
garip.
seems to believe that his business can no longer
Çok
count
garip
on
yani.
receiving a return on investment for additional 3DS hardware.
Stefan had just posted an open letter on his website announcing that he was, sure enough, out of the modding game,
Adam bırakmış
retiring after
işi.
7 long years of modding Nintendo hardware for a living. Still, I knew I had to try. So I reached out to Stefan personally.
Adama yazmış.
I pleaded with this man,
O
the
herifte hiç
Hattori Hanzo
mesaj atacak
of
bir adam
3DS
yok.
hardware modification, trying my hardest to persuade this master of his craft into coming out of retirement for one last job.
Son bir iş abi.
I explained the situation to Stefan, that I was painfully close to getting my hands on this ultra-rare DS game, and that I needed one of his devices to share it with the world. And it took some convincing, but eventually...
Adam demiş ki bu işi yaparsan bana makineyi yollarsın demiş yalnız.
He agreed.
Ne izliyoruz? Ne izliyoruz? McDonalds bir tane Nintendo DS oyunu çıkartmış. 10 sene önce falan. Kimse de yokmuş o oyun. Bu adam da o oyunu almaya çalışıyor. Oyunu alıp ROM'unu internete yaymaya çalışıyor herkes oynasın diye.
But there was a caveat. Stefan said he would need me to send him some American 3DS hardware to modify. So I went out and purchased a brand new,
başka
new
DS yolluyor.
2DS XL
Amerikan
and mailed it off
versiyonu.
to Germany.
You're left-handed too.
Yep.
Bir tane DS yollarsın adama. Orada
That's right
zaten
here.
10 lira lan orada Nintendo DS. Türkiye'de
More
olsa
on
tamam
that
hadi
later.
tribe gireriz de.
In the meantime, I also continued to closely monitor this piece of lost luggage. Balancing all these things, the auction, the missing baggage, trying to persuade a retired German modder to make me a custom 3DS for
Saçma
capture.
oğlum.
It was overwhelming trying to keep all these plates
O kadar
spinning at once,
saçma
especially
ki
knowing
yani her
that if
şey.
even one of these things fell through, the whole project would likely fall apart. Eventually, after hours of checking the luggage delivery link over and over and over, an update came in the next day. Yeah, wait, what does it say?
Airlines baggage information delivery info.
Oh, okay.
This is from an email address called welcome to where'smysuitcase.com.
Where is your suitcase?
Recently, your baggage was delayed while flying into Raleigh-Durham International Airport. You're receiving this email because we will be handling your delivery on behalf of American Airlines.
Bak kurban oğlum adam gerçekten kaybetmiş.
Claim into our system. We are working
Valizini
with the airline
çocuk.
to get your baggage as fast to you as possible. If all goes according to plan, we'll get this bag by tonight at 10 p.m.
I mean, this is the
Çok
closest
korkunç ya
I've
çantanı
ever
kaybetmek.
been to this McDonald's DS. The trajectory is correct. It's on the right
Belki
path.
sahte mi?
Spitting distance.
Oğlum
It's past.
bak. YouTube Türkiye'den dolayı kafayı yemişiz biz. Şu her bok kurgu mantığından, mentalitesinden bir çıkalım artık. Kurguysa da kurgu. Sikerim. Çok güzel kurgu. Müthiş. Bu kurguysa var ya kurban olayım. Keşke herkes kurgu video çekse.
So many hands, you know. Who can really trust?
Oğlum niye çalıyorsun lan Hormal'in mesajına? İyi gece Ari var.
Snuck his hand in there and
Ari var.
decided he wanted a McDonald's Game Boy. Who can say? All right. Thank you.
We're also playing monkey ball downstairs if you
Oh,
want.
what? What the f***? Are you serious?
The baggage had apparently arrived at our airport and was set to be delivered to our house that
Uçak nasıl
night.
bagajını kaybediyor ya?
And then,
Nasıl?
on August
Türkiye'de oluyor
4th
çok.
at 10 p.m., there was a knock on the door.
Hi. This is for Mark?
Yes. Yep. That's it.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Welcome. Have a good night.
You too. Oh my gosh.
It had arrived.
Here it is. Oh, this is it, right, Mark?
Yep. Very precious cargo.
Indeed.
Oyunu oyna.
You got the
Bavulu
goods.
parçalıyor. Yırtıyor bavulu.
This is smuggled
Geliyor.
across country borders.
Multiple states. It's changed
İçinde
hands
çıkmazsa
more times than I can count between postmen.
imkansız. İçinden çıkması
Oh
lazım.
my gosh.
Ha orada işte bak orada bak orada. Ayakkabının yanında bak orada.
I suspect it was packed pretty safely by our friend in Japan, right?
Bu çocuk niye Pringles çalmış Japonya'dan? Hayatımdaki en kötü.
Wait a minute.
There's no way somebody would snatch it.
Here it is.
You never know with TSA, dude.
Maybe like there's a lithium ion battery in it. And
Right.
They wouldn't let me check it through, and that was the thought in my head just now. Was
Yeah.
Taking it.
Getting lithium batteries through customs can be tricky.
So
Oh
I
my
believe
god.
what you have here is the charger. I
Okay.
think this is the actual device.
Oyun yok. Düşünsene böyle. Makine var
All
sadece.
right. So you haven't opened this part yet, right?
Açılacak mı acaba?
This is a huge moment.
Oğlum açılmayabilir bu arada ya bence. Biri kitleyebilir bu adamı açılmayan makineyi. Çok kolay yani. Eskiden çekmiştim fotoğrafını. Koyar açılmıyordur ha.
This is so thoroughly wrapped. I'm really, and I'm grateful. It needed every bit of wrapping here.
Lan Yex, ne bağırıyorsun lan lulunlu? Oğlum, McDonalds bir tane DS oyunu yapmış. Nintendo DS oyunu 10 sene önce. Hiçbir yerde yokmuş. Bu adam da o oyunu arıyor.
Okay, hang on a second. There's something pretty interesting going on here.
Ne çıktı? 2 tane makine lan. O ne lan?
You ready? That is beautiful. Look at the matte black.
Adamlar bu arada iyi ki kırmızı sarı yapmamışlar.
MKBHD
cidden güzel yapmışlar.
I think. It's in such good condition too. Shouts out to the McDonald's employee who took.
So it has a cartridge. It's not just
McDonald's'tan çalmışlar. Çok iyi duruyor bu arada.
That's what she's an unassuming cartridge with incredibly high value.
Cidden çok clean duruyor.
And precious data. And then what is going on over here? Why is what is this second thing? So this number, from the YouTube videos I've seen of the people who can't get past the title screen.
Bu şifre galiba. O oyunun şifresi işte. Geçemiyorsun ya normalde aldığın oyunu. Oha 2 tane. Oğlum çok pis kazıklamış o herifi.
What?
Adam ikinciyi hediye yollamış.
2 McDonald's DSIs here. Wow, they're both like in incredible condition too.
3500 lira.
That matte texture is so nice. The DSI
Kerizlemiş oğlum. Bunda da oyun var mı acaba? Bir tane mi oyun yoksa?
Underrated device. And then let's see what's the last piece of the puzzle here.
Şarj aleti sadece. Gri, kötü,
Mark,
çirkin
I think your
bir
suspicion is correct.
şarj aleti galiba bu.
I think this is just a pretty standard DSI charger here.
Süper çirkin bir şarj aleti.
Wow, beautiful.
Aç hadi!
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mark.
Aç hadi!
Thank you, Robert, for filming.
At long last, this ultra rare game and allegedly the password for it was in our hands. This incredibly rare McDonald's branded DSI, this even rarer McDonald's Japan employee training game,
açabiliyor mu lan?
and
Oynayabiliyor mu?
arguably the most precious part of all, the long lost unique 6-digit password that would let us access the game for the first time in 10 years.
Akson, öpüyorum ne oldu? Görüşürüz.
Finally, at long last, the game was safely in our hands, and that meant that there was only one piece of the puzzle left. And sure enough, a few days later, another package arrived, this time from Germany, containing the modded new 2DSXL.
Şimdi bak, bu adama niye yolluyor Alman adama? Adam iki DS'i modifiye etsin ki bilgisayara görüntüsünü aktarabilmek için. Yoksa DS'in görüntüsünü aktaramıyormuş. Çok zormuş. Bu konsolun bu konsol normali bile nadir. Ben de öyle biliyorum.
This was the final piece. This was
Türkiye'de
the last
bayağı
ingredient
pahalı herhalde.
necessary
Çok
to
az var
share this
bundan.
game with the world. The only obstacle left to surmount was the language barrier. I can't read Japanese, but I know somebody who can. So I reached out to Samuel Messner again and asked him if he'd be down to join me for this first ever playthrough of the McDonald's DS training game. He agreed.
I'm excited to see the icon for it.
Yeah, yes, good point. This is a big moment for me. I have not actually turned this game on yet. I've played 0 seconds of this. As has everyone in the United States, as far as I can tell.
Oh my god, it's fancy!
Damn, I kind of wish that was what the cartridge looked like. Because it's got kind of a Feel the Magic XYXX vibe to it. Dude, I can't... I'm loving it! I'm loving it! I am loving it.
Oğlum bu Nintendo'nun kalemle oynanan şey değil mi 2DS? Evet doğru. Kalemi vardı lan bunun.
Wow.
FMV! Severim. Wow. Köfte yapmayı severim. Turşu Oğlum. Çok keyifli bir oyun gibi duruyor bu arada. Gerçekten keyifli duruyor. Big Mac'ler uçuyor havada falan böyle.
Dude. Happy McDonald's customers all over the world.
Karışık insanlar var random.
This opening video was on YouTube, but I avoided watching it because I didn't want to take away from that moment, and I made the right call.
Süper.
Wowee.
Bir de var ya,
we got 3 menu options.
özellikle böyle her ırktan insanı koymuşlar ya o videoya. Kimse şey yapmasın diye, ırkçı demesin diye. Bir an her ırktan insan geliyor böyle. Her ırktan bir küçük bir büyük insan geliyor.
Yeah, so the first one is
tam bir McDonalds hareketi.
Password, like change your password, and the third one is serial code input, which is probably what we're gonna want to do here.
Oh, interesting. I feel like I'm defusing a bomb here.
Bu oyun çıkmış değil mi bu arada? Çünkü sadece Japon çalışanların bazıları almış.
It's got the jingle. It's incredible. It's so spiritual. Okay, this has to be it because it's a 6-digit code that only takes numbers. All right, let's punch this in.
Şifre yanlış mı acaba?
4, 8, 5. Oops, I fucked up. Is this backspace in the lower right?
Yeah, it is.
4, 8, 2. Such a distractingly beautiful song. All right, here we go. What does it say at the bottom?
Complete input.
Ne yazıyor?
Right, let's see here. Oh no!
Ne?
The what you have entered is incorrect. Please enter the correct information.
What the fuck?
This moment, in all honesty, scared the crap out of me. My mind flooded with terrifying possibilities. Had this DS cartridge save game been wiped somehow? Had the seller sent me the wrong copy? Or, worst of all, were these photos fake? Had we been straight up scammed here?
Yine olmadı oğlum. Şifre yalanmış. Bence tersten
yazsın. What if it's
yazsın.
the password? What if they set the password to be... Because it is a 6-digit password.
Try it. Yeah, why not?
I hope so, because I don't know what I'm going to do if this doesn't work. Okay.
And here it says, please enter the 6-digit password that you yourself have decided. This is where I'm unsure whether this will actually work.
Şifreyi mi değiştiriyor şu an?
Alright, 482500. I'm hoping this works.
Aha!
Yes!
Tamam.
Yes!
Demin yanlış yere girmiş herhalde adam.
We're in.
We're in uncharted territory, man.
Dude, the password had worked.
Okay.
Wow, we got the buns. 2 pickles is a...
Şimdi 5 dakika oynayıp sıkılacağı bir oyuna 3500 lira verdiğini hatırlayacak.
Oh, it's 3D!
Sadece 10 dakika Big Mac yapacak.
This game took over an hour, so I'm going to spare you from watching all of that and just show you the highlights.
Önemli yerler. Big Mac yaptığımız kısmı göster bana. Bana Big Mac yap.
Is this my name? Oh my god.
Çalışan falan seçiyor lan bu. Bayağı yapmışlar ha.
Let's go with this guy then. Oh, let's get the egg.
Oh yeah.
Oh, this sound design is so good. Are you hearing that? Dude, the fact that it's like a sprite of a cow with a McDonald's M on it.
Hey, my name is Donald McDonald. Okay, how many pickles on a double cheeseburger?
Easy. Easy. We're now getting an isometric view of the whole store.
Whoa!
Oh my god.
Okay. It says that you can send an encouraging message to someone else in the McDonald's crew.
Dude.
Oyunda mı?
Dude, that is incredible. Now, as we played through this game, we just kept making discovery after fascinating discovery.
Is that Ronald McDonald's hand?
Way too much to put in this video.
Oyun yani bu arada.
And side note, if you're one of the people crazy enough to want to watch all 73 minutes of this playthrough, you can just click the join button underneath this video and you'll get access to the entire thing as one of my channel members. Anyways,
merak etmedim değil yani. Çok sıkıcı duruyor aslında ama.
An immensely satisfying moment playing through this game for the first time and having a translator by my side to help out. It felt like a victory.
Yani
it's a great
sıkıcıdır
piece of
chat ya.
we've uncovered.
Hamburger yapıyorsun.
Sharing it with the world.
Yeah, and thank you for doing your part
DS
for
için iyi
video
gerçi.
game
10 sene
preservation,
önce.
man. This will be the first video material in the
Çil
world.
burger yapıyorsun ama sonra bir anda Ronald McDonald gelip sana şey soruyor. Cheeseburger'de kaç turşu var? Yanlış cevap verince kovuluyor.
What the game is like. This has existed exclusively within the memories for like a decade.
Yeah.
Adamın eski save'leri varmış lan herhalde.
McDonald's video game, DS game before you.
However,
Oynadık işte oyunu.
About 1 week after I recorded my playthrough with Samuel, I was catching up with a friend over FaceTime, and she asked me what I've been up to lately. So I walked her...
Kız arkadaşınla konuşuyoruz böyle, bir haftada ne yapıyorsun? Ya bir haftada ne yapayım ya? Japonya'da bir tane McDonalds oyunu varmış. 10 senedir kimse oynamamış. İnternette falan da yok. Ben de sonra Japon sitesiyle mail attım, özellikle $3.500 vermek için. Onu alacaktım ama Japonya koronadan gidemedim. Kargo da gelmiş. Sonra kardeşim Japonya'daydı. Onun çantasına koyduk. Sonra kardeşim geldi. Onun bavulu da kaybolmuş tam o ara. Onu bir çözdük. Ondan sonra Alman bir adam var diye. Böyle şey işte. Klasik ya.
Through this whole story, the long lost game, the Bloomberg video, the
burger yapma oyunu sıkıcı diyen adam geçen 2 saat kahve yapmaya oyun oynadı. Abi bak, ben sıkıcı oyun oynamıyorum demiyorum. Bu benim huyum yani. Ben bazı zamanlar sıkıcı oyun oynamayı seviyorum. Bak bugün de Filistin propagandası oynayacağız, hatırlatırım. Bu ne oğlum, Tekken iniyor. Filistin propagandası inmiş, bir saniye. Bunda bir dakika dur. Tamam, devam ediyoruz.
The auction, the French guy Cody Tontweet who had a copy but couldn't get in because he didn't have the password, etc., etc., and how I had just managed to get to it myself. And she says to me, "So wait, that password, was it an employee ID number or what?" So I go to Cody's video to show her the exact password screen the guy was stuck on, and I noticed something new. While showing her Cody's video, I spotted something in the description that I hadn't seen before. A new message that had been edited in since the last time I watched it, in French, in all capital letters, Identifant2V. And beneath that, logins found with a YouTube link. I clicked the link.
Adam çözmüş oğlum zaten.
And it took me to a live stream archive broadcast on YouTube with 131
Almasına gerek yokmuş oğlum.
58 minutes long, where Cody enters a password.
Ne girdi? Leyi 038 mi? Ne ki o?
And it actually works. He gets in, plays through the entire game, just like me and Samuel did. And here's the really devastating part. Cody's playthrough had been streamed live to YouTube on August 30th, 2020. My playthrough with Samuel, that was on September 18th, barely 2 weeks later. We'd been beaten.
İlk oynayan olamadı, doğru olmalı. Artık kerizliğin yanı sıra herif dünyaya bu oyunu ilk gösteren insan olamadı.
I gotta be honest with you here.
Ama o Cody denen dangalan videosu 7.8 milyon izlenmemiştir. Hiç panik yapmasan.
It was a little bit heartbreaking. To have come this far and put in all this effort, I was kicking myself. If I just moved a little faster, procrastinated a little less, I could have been the actual first one to document this game. At the same time, though, I was happy for Cody and also mystified by the fact that he'd somehow gotten the password for his cartridge. I mean, we all know how I got the password for my version, but how the hell did Cody get his? Well, strap in, because Cody's journey to get his cartridge's password is even crazier than my own.
Ne? Nasıl almış?
Over on that obscure gamers forum thread from the beginning of this video, Cody tells the full story.
Cody geliyor.
In short, he was able, through a friend, to meet in person with the IT director of McDonald's in his country, presumably McDonald's France. Upon seeing the McDonald's DS, this IT guy freaked out, said don't move, and then brought it to the desk of none other than the CEO. Truly the Scott president of Domino's.
Siz göremiyorsunuz şu an bunu. Adam IT'ciye gidiyor işte, IT bakanına, o da onu CEO'ya götürüyor direkt diye.
To the desk of none other than the CEO. Truly the Scott president of Domino's Pizza of this particular story. It turns out the CEO's wife is Japanese, and she herself had actually worked at McDonald's Japan corporate, meaning she knew exactly who to contact about Cody's problem. Weeks later, Cody found himself on an email chain with employees from McDonald's Europe, McDonald's UK, McDonald's Australia, and of course, McDonald's Japan.
Ya, böyle bir şey. Ne bileyim.
This email chain, according to Cody, was loaded with information including scans of PDFs of the game's manual, but unfortunately they weren't able to give him a password as the individual passwords were set by individual McDonald's store managers.
Ya şifre?
Now, a lot of people would have given up there, but not Cody.
Düşünsene gidiyorsun.
He kept...
Kimse de yok, o kadında da yok, CEO'da da yok. McDonald's Fransa'ya bakan adam yani bu. Sana diyor ki şifreyi veremeyiz. Niye vermiyorsun ki? Ver işte.
Going. And the actual explanation of what Cody did next is pretty technical and honestly way above my head. But at this point, Cody actually dove into the code itself.
Ne?
He took apart the game's ROM and comparing the McDonald's training cartridge's save data with other DS games and began to find similarities. Then, incredibly, Cody made a huge discovery. He stumbled across a string of code in the game that contained translations of the 2-character hex code for every single letter and number in the password screen. From there, he kept hunting and then found the entry in the code for crew members. And at that point, he had everything he needed. The username? LE1038. And the password he needed? 0000000. He was in. I could not stop smiling when I first read Cody's story. This guy had jumped through about 1 billion hoops and roadblocks to solve a very inconsequential mystery, and to me that made me feel like he and I are kindred spirits.
Yani hani şifreyi deneyememiş çünkü username yokmuş adamda. Okay.
It's in a way.
Üst
But
düzey
also,
güvenlik.
I'd be lying if I said I wasn't a little heartbroken.
Rezil olmamak için vermemişler gerçekten.
Cody had ultimately beaten me to the punch. But the irony wasn't lost on me either. This entire time, without either one of us knowing it, Cody and I had been racing in parallel, neck and neck to the same finish line. And unfortunately for me, Cody had beaten me fair and square by just a couple of days. Still, I was determined to make this adventure worth it.
Herkese paylaşmış sonra.
I had come too far to just throw all this away because someone else had beaten me to putting this on YouTube. And after thinking about it for a while, I think I figured out what I can do. See, as of today, the only 2 people we know for sure have access to this game are Cody and myself. And as cool as that scarcity is, I think I want this game to be something that everybody can enjoy. And Cody's made it abundantly clear that he plans to never ever dump his copy. After spending months on this project and reading tons and tons of forum threads about it, one thing I feel pretty confident about is that people really want to see this game preserved. Both just to check the game out for themselves and also out of principle. So, one last time, I reached out to Samuel about my idea, and Samuel put me in touch with a game preservationist named Scyther.
ROM'u paylaşmış mı? Evet, paylaşmış. Süper video gerçekten. Aha, modlu DS'e koyup. Şu an oynanabiliyor bu arada bu oyun.
The process of using some software called God Mode 9 on my 3DS to dump the game cartridge itself in its entirety. The game cartridge itself and, crucially, my save file, since the game requires a password. And after jumping through a few hoops,
oynanır
we were
yani.
Successful.
Emülatöründeyse oynanır. Süper.
So, I'm happy to announce that if you or anyone else watching this video wants to play this
ben dedim
long-lost
güzel video dedim.
McDonald's training game for yourself, I've created a page on archive.org where I've uploaded
bugün
the
oynayamam
ROM
çünkü
and
bugün
my save
oynarsam
file and some basic instructions, and you
emülatör
can
falan
download it
kuramam
and
yani
start
yayında.
playing with it today. Have fun.
Illegal. Yani sonra da emülatör oynamayacağım. Ben de alacağım. Son kalan 2-3 oyunu işte. Son kalan 2-3 oyunu da ben alırım.
Now that this whole thing is over, that I've been able to reflect on just how bizarre and uniquely international this journey was.
Diyorum oğlum.
The quest to get my hands on this game involved a German 3DS hacker, a pseudonymous French rival, a game archivist from the Czech Republic, international smuggling, and for the second time in my life, the Japanese arm of an American fast food company. I still don't really understand why this keeps happening, why I seem fated to pursue these trivial stories about companies like Domino's Japan or McDonald's Japan. And though I don't know how things turned out this way, there's one thing I know for sure. I'm loving it. Stupid ending.
Süper. Çok güzel video.
Before we wrap up, I have 3 really quick notes.
Çok iyi
First
video.
and
Helal
foremost,
olsun.
I'd like to extend a huge thank you once again to Bayi for sponsoring this video and for helping preserve this weird little piece of internet history.
Nice.
There's a link in the description of this video that gives you a free
Size de videom.
2000
Kanal
yen
çok iyi bu
coupon
arada.
to any
Diğer
new
videoları da
Bayi
çok iyi bu
users who
adamın.
sign up. It's a great service. I've used it a ton of times, so if you want to thank Bayi for making this video possible, please consider clicking this link and checking the site out. Also, in the time since this story began, Bayi has opened up international shipping via DHL, so getting stuff in and out of Japan is now a breeze. Also, a huge shout out to Jennifer Walton, who composed that phenomenal reorchestrated version of the McDonald's training game
Trendyol odası var.
that you heard at the
10-15
very end of this
dakika oraya
video.
bakarız.
I couldn't have done it
Sonra
without her.
gaming time.
I still
Ama saçma
laugh
bir game.
every time I listen to that song. It's so perfect. Here's a link to that if you want to hear it. Secondly, the link to download the McDonald's DS game ROM that I dumped.
Bunlar zaten yes. Oyunu da var bu arada. Oynamak isterseniz indirebiliyorsunuz. Sen bize bunu 50 dakika nasıl izlettin ya? Oğlum ben diyorum size bak, güzel video. Ben zaten bir video sıkıcı olduğunda çıkıyorum yayında. Bu video gerçekten ya, fikir olarak çok güzeldi. Bu adamın kanalındaki başka videolara da bakabiliriz bu arada sonraki yayınlarda. Çok ilginç videolar var ama Türkçe altyazılı olan bir tek bu vardı. Şey videosu da bu adamın bu arada. Şu bir tane video var ya, bu işte ya. First person böyle duruyor. Third person arkadan bakıyorsun. İkinci kişi nasıl oluyor? Oo.